Hi guys, it's Caroline, and today I'm going to be talking about my biggest reading regrets of 2020. Now, what I mean by that is that I read these books knowing that I probably wasn't going to like them. I read them anyway, and then I didn't like them, and so I'm going to talk about what those books were and what I think in hindsight I should have read instead. So it'll make more sense when I do the first one. So first one is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. So I didn't really love the Twilight books as a kid. I saw the movies and read all the books, but I thought it was overrated. Now the only time I watch them is kind of like a hate watch, laugh with my friends scenario. I listened to the audiobook. It was 26 hours. It actually made me dislike Edward because I think before I was kind of giving his possessive weirdness of the benefit of the doubt. And in this 26-hour long audiobook, I realized, oh my God, he's just the worst combination of a horny teenager and a curmudgeon-y old man. And so I read that and I hated it, put me in a reading slump. It was really long. It took me forever to listen to an audiobook because I just didn't want to pick it up. So I think I shouldn't have read that because I saw that coming. I didn't think I was going to like it. I just did it because everyone was reading it, which is stupid. And so instead, I think I should have read A Discovery of Witches. Now, this is a series that I've been told by so many people that I should read. I think it's dark academia with witches and vampires. I think there's a romance that's sort of forbidden between a witch and a vampire because in this world they're not really supposed to interact. I don't know a ton about it except for the fact that everyone who I know that has read it is like, you'd really like this. And I think this is sort of the paranormal vampire-y thing that right now I can stomach. I think the YA vampire stuff we used to watch, I'm not into that anymore. I don't think if I reread like the Vampire Diaries or anything like that, I don't think that that would do it for me. But I do think that this is a bit of vampire literature that I could see myself really enjoying. And I wish I'd read it instead. Next up is Rodom. Now, Rodom is this weird... Listen, I regret it, but I also don't regret it because I love talking about how terrible this book is. Basically, it is what if Hillary never married Bill? She knows Bill, they dated, but she ends up not marrying him in the end. And it's weird to me because Hillary and Bill are both very much alive and both very much married to one another. So it's weird that someone just wrote this like pop culture-y book that was like, hey lady, what if you didn't marry the husband that you're currently with? Because we all kind of agree maybe you shouldn't have married him. And like, that seems weird to me. First of all, the wording of the sex is weird. And then when you think about it being Hillary and Bill Clinton, it's doubly weird. Weird kind of first wave feminism, non-inclusive to women of color is really touched upon, but never really addressed. Like it's there and this book mentions it, but then never is like, and that was bad. It's just sort of like, and that was there. And that was uncomfy. It was weird, but oh my God, I sped through it. I buddy read it with a friend and we were like, this is the worst thing I've ever read. I probably should have read another book. And that book is The Kinks. Now, this was one of the books that I really wanted to get to in 2020. I make a list of 10 books or series that I want to read, and this was one of them. This is about a man. His mother left them when he was a child, and then all of a sudden when he's an adult, he's a college professor, he sees his mother on the news with this explosive story that takes over, you know, the news cycle, and she's sort of seen as this like radical hippie character. It has a huge political controversy, and so he kind of tries to find her and reconnect with her and help her out because she is at the center of this like political thing. I don't know. I haven't read it. It sounds so good. Both my parents have read it and they both loved it and they have completely different tastes. So I really want to look forward to it. I think this is like historical and political in a way that's enjoyable rather than weird. It's not like what would politics be fan fiction. It's like actual has real political intrigue. I don't know. I think that this was wildly different from Rodham, but I think I would have liked it so much more and not given it a 1 star. Next up is Annihilation, which I actually listened to very, very recently. I just thought, hey, it's a short audiobook. Let's hop on the bandwagon. A lot of people like it. And I found it boring. I think I picked it up because it was a short audiobook and I thought, hey, maybe I'll get 200 books this year. Hey, this is famous. And I just found it so incredibly bland and boring. I just couldn't get interested in it. I think it suffered a little bit from a man writing a woman, because I just thought the woman was so, didn't have any emotions. I didn't find her inner life that interesting. I don't know if that's just because he can't write or if he can't write women. So unclear, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but I found it boring, and I didn't care about the twist at the end, which is always a bad sign when you're writing something that hinges on the twist at the end. So instead of that, I wish I had read Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. Now, I've heard so many good things about this book. I've had an arc for forever. It's about two twins that are half gods, and they're sort of trying to decide whether they should use their powers, kind of ascend to godhood, or if that's kind of a dangerous game. I don't know a ton about it because I sort of want to learn about the world when I get into the world, but I have heard wonderful things about it, and it just seems like the character development seems more interesting here. There seems to be more characters for me to care about, which I think was also an issue with Annihilation, is there just wasn't a ton of characters. And I think that this is more up my alley than Annihilation. Next up is A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius. Now, I read that because my book club read it. And then we all got really busy, and so I ended up being the only one in the book club who read it. And both my mom, my grandma, my bosses at work, and maybe one other person, but basically everyone I spoke to when I said I was reading this book said, oh, I had a really hard time with that one, or oh, I had a hard time finishing that one. And I didn't understand it because it's just like a dude's memoir and it's supposed to be funny, so I was like, what's going on? And I read it and I had a hard time getting through it because he's trying so hard to be funny. I've talked about it in another video. He tries so hard to be funny. I don't find it funny. I find it alarming the way he's raising his brother, and I want to protect his brother, but it's supposed to be funny how dysfunctional it is. And I was just cringing at the scenario and at the jokes, and I just didn't care. It's a really polarizing book. Some people love it, some people hate it, and I don't know a lot of people that think in the middle, and I think I hated it. And instead, I wish I would have read The Opposite of Loneliness. Now, this is a collection of essays written by a young woman. I think she had just graduated from Yale, and she had some stuff in the New Yorker and was sort of this up-and-coming flame, and everyone really expected this was going to be this girl who took the literary world by storm. And then I believe she died in a car accident, so this was posthumously published, and it's I think the collection of her best essays, and this has been on my shelf for forever. And I think now, as a recent college grad, I'm at the age that she was when she wrote all of this stuff, and I think that if it's ever going to resonate with me, it would definitely be now. And I'm just interested, and I just feel like I haven't been reading a lot of literary essays in quarantine, so I think that this is a good turn. And this is going to be thoughtful and interesting in a way that A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius was supposed to be, and I just didn't find it to be. So I wish I'd read this one instead. And finally is Sex and Vanity by Kevin Kwan. Now, I listened to that one on audiobook as well. This is the same author who did Crazy Rich Asians, and I read that book. I enjoyed it for the contemporary romp that it was, and I liked the movie. Did I think it was this great piece of literature? No, but I was glad I read it. So I gave Sex and Vanity a shot because why not? And it was way worse than Crazy Rich Asians. I found so many people annoying. It was a little weird. I remember there being a lot of time skips and setting skips that confused me, particularly as an audiobook reader. And then things were a little convenient or weird. Instead of that, which is, supposed to be lighthearted, funny, a good time, I wish I would have read Anxious People. And I don't need to go, wax on about this because I've talked about it a million times. I'm sure you've heard about it a million times, but it's about a bunch of people who are in this bank robbery gone wrong, and they're all anxious and they've got different lives. And Frederick Bachman is known for having kind of books that get you right in the heart, and I think this is going to make me laugh and get me right in the heart in a way that Sex and Vanity just didn't make me laugh. So I think I wish I would have read this one instead. Alrighty, those are just a few books that I read this year and the books that I wish I had read instead.